Coming next to the table, Kurt Warner from the Arizona Cardinals. This should be a lot of fun. Kurt, how are you?
I am doing very well. How you guys doing?
Making
Great.
the round, talking, having a good time?
Doing it all. You know, other than playing in it, I'm doing all the other stuff. So.
Right.
Well, you've been there a couple times yourself.
I know. I you know, that's what everybody says. But I'd like a third at least. So
round it off.
Know, it's been a little while since I've been there. I need to at least taste it again.
Right.
Would have been nice, especially on the home field.
It would have been. You know, it would have. I think just having it here is bringing some excitement to our organization and to our team and you know, what NFL football is all about. So we're hoping to generate some support because of that. But it definitely would have been nice to be able to play in this game.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And yet at the same time, you see guys with longevity. Brett Favre is just making, fools out of some kids.
Exactly.
Fools out of them.
And, and you yourself. I mean, there was some time there where people starting to write you off a little bit, and you've come back, and you've proven with the Cardinals that you still got what it takes, and you still get it done.
Well, I think it's one of those things where everybody thinks when you understand this is an ultimate team game, that it takes guys around you, and when you don't have those guys like Brett maybe did in the last couple of years, and everybody's like, well, get him out of there, he's done, he can't play anymore. Now all of a sudden you surround him with the guys, and you realize, oh, he didn't forget how to play this game. He can still play good football. And I kind of feel that's the same with me, is that, we kind of got back to something that I'm comfortable with this year. And getting in there and getting a chance to play and having a pretty successful season and doing some of the things that I had done previously in my career, it was fun again, to be back in that kind of situation. And, so I think that's the one thing you realize is not a lot of guys forget how to play this game, but it is the ultimate team game, and no guy can go out and win it by themselves.
Well, you got to wonder how many guys that struggle at the quarterback position. I mean, we've gone through it in Buffalo for the last few years. A guy like J.P. Lossman, is he not in the right system? I mean, if he was in a different place, could this guy be the quarterback that you thought he would be?
Exactly. Well, I agree with you, because, did all those great things in St. Louis, and then I go to New York, and everybody expects you to go and throw 30 touchdown passes in New York. And we're this running football team that, don't take any chances. And it was a completely different way of playing football. And it was miserable for me because I wasn't used to it. And, and so I think there's a lot to be said about getting in a system where you're comfortable. What is that? It's different for different guys. Some guys it's play action. Some guys it's 5 wide, spread them all out. So there's different ways. But I think there's a lot of truth to not everybody can play in every system. How often do you see a guy that might have been really good in one place get traded to another place, you never hear from him again because he's not comfortable? And then what about the great ones? They're always the guys that are in a system for 7, 8, 9 years. They've gotten comfortable with it. They've built things around them, and those are the guys that you look at now, the Paytons, the Bradys, the Favres, that have been in those systems and have continual success because they don't have to change what they do, and they just get better and better in their system.
By the way, Kurt Warner is with us, Shred Ragan Show here at the Super Bowl on the Edge.
What about guys that get a shot at starting, don't really make it, and serve as a backup for a long time? All of a sudden, they surface as a good quarterback. Okay, Todd Collins, long-time backup. Washington needs him, and all of a sudden the guy's lighting it up. Now, I would imagine there's going to be some teams that might be interested in Todd Collins next year.
You're probably right. And the thing you have to remember about Todd, too, is you talk about system quarterbacks. You got to remember he was the backup in Kansas City where Al Saunders was. He knew that offense. And I heard a number of times from Al, knowing Al and some of the guys there, that Todd was a very solid quarterback, really understood that system. Al goes to Washington. Todd goes to Washington. He sneaks up and goes from the number 3 to the number 2. Now he gets a chance, and it's a system he's comfortable with, that he's played in. Here he comes in. Nobody really expects a lot. And he, guns a-blazing, and he plays great. And so I think it's another one of those things. You got to get comfortable with the situation, the players around you, what you're doing. And that separates, okay players from good players and good players from great players.
Kurt Warner's with us. Kurt, what about this? Is it the same thing for coaches on the other side? You get a chance to play for Mike Martz, and now he's bouncing around, and it's a little strange, right? It
is strange. And the thing that I think you have to realize on that side, too, is that as a coach, you have to be able to adjust to players that you have. A lot of coaches think, well, this is my way. This is the only way. We got to do it this way. The Dick Vermeils, when he first started in St. Louis, you hear the horror stories. And finally, he gave way to, the Marches that came in and changed the things a little bit and let them coach a little bit. And we kind of took off with our personnel. I saw that this year with Coach Wisenhunt, that he came in and his model was Pittsburgh Steelers, tight end, fullback, run the ball, play action, 2 wide receivers. And we weren't quite built that way. So down the stretch, we became the 3 wide receiver, the 4 wide receiver, the spread them out, and we became an explosive offense. And I think that's the part that you have to learn as a coach. And again, with Mike Martz is you've got to be able to adjust to what you have. And if you can't do that, you're going to find yourself as one of those people that bounces around from place to place.
This is my system. This is how we run that. And it's going
to you find the right guys to run it. I mean, we were special in St. Louis. It's not an easy thing to put together.
Kurt Warner's with us. It's Kurt Warner sitting at the table with us here at the Super Bowl. Ragan Ragan Show here at the Edge.
Do you think that it hurt the Cardinals a little bit in the beginning of the year until you really started to adapt to the way the team was? Because everybody had high expectations after last season.
Exactly.
And it seems like you guys struggled a little bit in the beginning of the year.
We did. You know, we struggled offensively. And a lot of it is guys buying into the system, feeling comfortable with what their role is. And I think it was a process. And nothing against our coaches because that's normal. You got to come in and coach what you know. I've had success doing this. I got to come in and at least start here. But to their credit, they did a tremendous job of adjusting along the way. We had Todd Haley, who came from Dallas. We had Coach Wiz, who came from Pittsburgh. We had myself, who came from, the Martz background, St. Louis, and those kinds of things. So it took a while for us to kind of mesh that offense together to figure out what we were as a team, where my strengths were, how I could play, how to utilize, the Fitzes and the Anquans and the edges. And when we got to that later in the year, we became the explosive offense we felt we could be from the beginning with the players that we had. And, so that does take time and it takes learning. But that's why I think we're excited right now is because we were excited where we were at the end of the year. And we think we can pick up there and make some noise next year.
Kurt Warner's with us, Ragan Ragan Show at the Edge. Kurt, at the same time, Matt Leinart, he's coming up on you. And, in fact, was he named the starter going into the offseason?
He was.
How do you feel about that?
Well, I'm not happy about it.
Yeah.
I want to be the guy.
You want to start, right? You want to play.
But at the same time, I understand it. What's been told to me, and I think is the situation at hand, is, we're going to give Matt a leg up going into the offseason. He is our future. He is our guy. He's our draft pick. We want him to be the guy, and I completely understand that. But bottom line is they've told me and Matt and I think everybody else that the best player is going to be on the field. When it's all said and done, if it's an even competition, you expect him to lean towards Matt. But if I can win the competition, then, they've assured me that I will be the guy that's on the field on Sunday afternoons. And that's really all I can ask for. I don't really care who's the starter right now.
Right.
I care, the Sunday that opens the season next year, that the best guy's on the field. And I'm going to do everything I can to be that guy and to convince my coaches and my teammates that I am that guy.
Toughest game of the season so far from this past season. I mean, you finished with 27 touchdowns, so that's a good thing. But what was the toughest game you played this season?
Seattle. Up there, yeah. We were a little bit outmanned. We had some injuries. I struggled a little bit, had 5 interceptions, in a big game for us. It was a game that we could have kind of flipped the tables in our division. So that was probably the toughest game outside of maybe the Washington game as well, because I just come off the injury to my left arm, was kind of playing kind of like a RoboCop, and it wasn't real comfortable. So that was tough from a physical standpoint.
There were some injuries, yeah.
The other one was tough more just because we didn't play well in a big game on the road, which is something that we have to take care of.
How do you, when you're in a game where it's 5 interceptions and you're just trying to clear your head, and they talked about that with Brett Favre, he was throwing some interceptions, cleared his head, kept going.
Yeah.
I mean, is it just experience? Are some guys just wired that way, they can get past it?
I think you have to be, and especially like gunslinger types, which kind of I've always been one of those guys that, if you make a mistake, so what? Go make a play to make up for it. And Brett Favre is a similar type guy that, you kind of have to get that mentality sometimes. And so, after 3 interceptions, every once in a while it creeps in, well, maybe you ought to just throw checkdowns the rest of the game. But then you get back there again and you say, what the heck? If we're going to go down, let's go down swinging. And then comes number 4, and it's like, well, now we got nothing to lose. And then there came number 5. But, you have those games. Everybody has those games where you're not on. You make a few mistakes or the other team makes a few plays and it goes against you. But you got to be one of those guys that can just shake it off and let it go